Hi guys, welcome along. Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench. But you knew that. And here we are with part 15. And I promise you, I absolutely promise you, this will be the final part of this build. In this part of this build, we will finish this model off. It will be unmasked. It will be whatever we're going to do with it. If it's going to be painted pink with purple stripes and red spots, this is going to be the video that we're going to do it in. This is it. Okay, I've said it in part 12, I've said it in part 13, I've said it in part 14, and now here we are at part 15, I'm saying it again, and this time I bloody mean it. Right, so we seem to have amassed a lot of bits here, and also I've had a few comments from you and a couple of emails. Main concerns seem to be around about the prop and the spinner. A lot of people are telling me that the prop blades are black-green. Yes, they are. So I'm going to do them in Tamiya XF61, is it? Or XF27? XF27, black green. I'm going to spray them in that with Mr. Colour Rapid Thinners, and that'll give them a nice matte, washed out finish then. And then I may just give them a bit of a dry brush or a proper matte varnish just to really dull them down, because they do look really matte in real life. I believe they were wood. So, yeah, so they're going to be dark green. So you are correct. They weren't black, they were black green. A lot of other people, which isn't a problem, of course, because if you remember, I didn't glue them on. So I can take them off, like so. God, they're a tight fit. And then I can put them in my little clamps and paint them black green. So that's that sorted. No problem there. Other people are saying they think the black on here should also be black green. In fact, the images I've seen, if it's not black, it's actually this lighter colour green. It's what's called dark green, but this is black green. I'm going to go with the black because I prefer the look. The fact that the internet is giving me the option means I can take the choice. Now, the one thing that does put me off doing it green is that trumpeters say to do it green. So, there we go. So I'm going to leave it black and white. I do like the look of it. I could mask it off quite easily with Tamiya tape, mask it around, spray the black green. Shall I do it? I don't know. We'll see. Then here we've got this clear sprue. We've got this tiny little part on here, number 4. And this is a tiny little tail light that goes into a little hole down in here. So that's going to go in there. That's a little marker light, so we can do that one, and I'll put that in with a drop of white glue. So that's going to get rid of that sprue, so that'll be that. We've got a couple of decals here, decals, Vorshish Dick antenna or something, and they're going to go on the antenna there on the sides. So I can't see which way they go. I can't find any references that show which way they go, whether they read up or read down. I'm going to have them read in so that the tops of the letters are forward. Okay, so they're going to go on there. And then that's going to have a matte coat to take them down. We've got the pilot step, which is going to go under here in that hole. So that's going to have to go in there and then get toned down with a bit of a wash and perhaps a bit of chipping around it. I may do a little bit of dry brushing around here just to see where it's been stepped on. I've been inspired by a build in an old model airplane magazine, a Tamiya TMMI model airplane magazine, and all they did was very, very lightly weathered it. They basically, it's funny actually, because you'd almost think I'd seen that before I did this, but they've almost done exactly the same as me, with the pre-shading and everything, and then the post-shading in the paint, and then giving it a very, very light weathering afterwards. So that's what I'm going to do. We've obviously got the huge cannons to go on, and they will go on last of all. We've got the front of the cannons there. We've got the machine gun here with its sights and everything to go in the back. We've got the rear part of the canopy. So they're going to go on all together. We've got the tail wheel to go on. This is going to be really difficult to fit. Watch this. Oh, Jesus, how difficult is this? Look at that. Look how difficult that is. And that's going to go in there like so. Just like that. There we go. It's done. That's the tail wheel fitted. So for the first time she sat on her wheels. And then we've got a flat spot on the tail wheel, which we need to make sure is to the bottom. Just like that. So that gets a better looking stance on it. Oh, be careful not to break that off. Got the step there, we've got the antenna and the pitot tube. We've got the little counterbalance weights here. They go on the bottom of the ailerons. So they're going to be glued on, and then a little bit of weathering. And that is it. And we're going to be done. So lots of little bits and pieces to do. I'm not going to film it all, but you know, I'll pop back in now and again and you can see what we're doing. So see you in a minute. Right, so that's the decaling done on the antenna. You can see there we've got the Vorsprung Dirt Technic or whatever it is on there. So looking lovely. So once that's all gone off, that's just done with micro set and sole. I haven't used the Tamiya Mark Fit Super Strong because basically what that'll do is just destroy the Mr. Hobby paint. Mr. Hobby paint is not resilient to Mr. Mark Fit Super Strong. The only paint I've found that is MRP Clear, 2K or LP, but I don't know about LP matte, so I'll have to try it. So we've got the blades here, got the propeller blades. Let's get that step out of the way. Got my black green in the airbrush. Just going to grab a piece of paper, do a little test flow. I know you guys like to see a bit of airbrush action. So that's about 18 psi, about a 50-50 mix, Tamiya XF27 black green. So let's get this painted on here. Let's get rid of that paper because it's going to mess the camera up. So we'll just paint that on there. There's a text from my mum, I bet. Just lay it on slow and let the black come through. Let it be really, really dark. I don't think the Tamiya black green is actually black enough, to be honest. And there we go. As you can see, it's going on really thin. And we've got the black coming through. So I'll put that like that, and then I'll show you a little something I'm going to do after. We'll do that one the same. Just laying it down nice and thin. As I say, be careful with your chipping and stuff if you're doing one of these. I've got a feeling I'm sure these propellers were wood. So if you go chipping them with aluminium and stuff, it'll look a bit silly, won't it? Well, it won't look silly to you, it'll look bloody great on your model, but something like, oh, excuse me, I think you'll find those blades were made of beechwood. So be careful. And that somebody could well be me. Yes, I am a rivet counter. Yes, I am fussy about how things look, but I don't get all het up about panel lines being in the wrong place or stuff like that. Unless they're obvious, you know, if you've got a panel line that splits the canopy in half when it was actually a one-piece canopy, then yeah, that's going to wind me up. But that paint all over my mat now. So what we need to do now is make sure they're uniform. We don't want one being green and one being black, and vice versa. So I'm just going to put these in my hand like this, hold them all together, and then just blow them all over the same, so they've all got the same amount of paint on them. Turn them over, do the same again. So they should all look pretty good now. And then we'll get a dead flat varnish on them and get them really flatted back, because I think that's how they should be. So we can stand them in there, and then we can do what people will go, oh my god, you're never actually doing that, are you? The paint is left in there, I'm putting back in the pot. There we go. Wipe the spills off the side. I've been doing that for about 20-30 years. Never caused me a problem yet. So I'm going to get this bench cleaned up as well with some thinners. Let those dry, and then we'll get a matte coat on them. I need to get a matte coat on the antenna as well. That's not going to be ready yet, I don't think. So we may as well do that at the same time. So I need to clean my airbrush out. Whoa, thinking about this spinner. Shall we, shan't we? I think we might. Right, so propeller blades are done. I've started masking the spinner. In the centre I've got one of these beautiful high-Q circle masks. These things are amazing. Get them from Premium Hobbies. They're absolutely incredible. They come in all sorts of sizes and they are so worth having. The last time I showed them on here, he sold out within hours. So if you want some, get some and order them. For the rest of the masking, I've used the Izu tape. Now there are all sorts of different tapes you can get. You can get the Sizo curve line tape. You can get the Tamiya. Where's mine? You can get this stuff here, Jammy Dog tape, which is, you know, it doesn't give a nice hard edge like these modern ones do. I don't know where it's gone, but I have got a roll of the Tamiya tape here. There it is. This Tamiya vinyl tape, you can get it in thinner sections. It's very good, but I always find that when you put like here where you've got a tight turn in it, it tends to lift So you've got to be really, really careful. You've got to make sure you push it down right before you spray. Literally, you know, push it down and then paint, because within 30 seconds it'll start to lift. You have to be really careful with it. Whereas I find this stuff goes down and just stays down. It's really good. It's basically the same as Tamiya tape, but just very, very thin. It comes in all sorts of different sizes. 0.4. I think number 2 is the 0.7. And we've got number 3 is 1 mil, number 4 is 1.5, got 2 of those, and then number 5 is the 2.5, and then number 6 for some reason they go back down to 2. So really, really good stuff, well worth having, and won't break the bank either. Now in between here I'm going to use Vallejo masking fluid, purely because it's better at sealing the edges of the tape than using other areas of tape. Now I've got my magnifier set up in such a way, I think, let me give this a clean, I think you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to start, actually I better put this on a pointy thing, hadn't I? Right, so we've got it mounted on a pointy thing. So I'm going to start up at the centre of the spiral. I think you can see me, see what I'm doing. I'm just going to put some down like so and then run it around. And if it does go over the edge of the tape, it doesn't matter, just leave it to dry, and then you can like roll it back. It sort of rolls around like rubber once it's dry. And I've tried as hard as I can to mask as close as I can to the white edge, but staying on the white, because obviously if we have a black line between the green and the white, it's going to look odd and I'll have to go in and retouch it. So just trying to save myself the hours of work required to do that. So you can see there, you can't really see at all, but we're masking in between the tape anyway. Okay, while the spinner's drying, I think I'm just going to do a little bit of dry brushing on this wing. This could ruin this model now, but got most of the paint off on the cloth, and I'm just going to very, very gently, I just want to literally add a hint, as if the plane's 2 or 3 days old, which I know is actually, for accuracy, is incorrect. But I just want to add something just to show that the modeler was aware. So no one can say, did you know? And obviously dry brushing is the way to go here, because you would not have got any wear down in the corners. So you just want to keep on those grip strips there that they used to stand on. You have the maintenance guys will stand up here doing the water and the oil and stuff. So we can do a bit of very light low brushing there, and it's literally, you can see it's very, very subtle, hardly anything there at all. Okay, and then a little bit on this side. Oops, shouldn't touching the wing with the dry brush. A little bit on this side as well. There we go. I'm happy with that. If I was going for a proper weathering job, I'd chip it and everything, and then I would have covered it in hairspray first. But all I'm trying to do is just represent some wear in that area, and it also highlights the beautiful detail that border models have put in there. So that's that. Now I'm just going to get a cotton bud. And I'm going to slightly moisten it. There we go. And just remove any dry brushing that's actually got onto the wing panel, because all I'm trying to show is that those grip strips have been, the paint's been worn off of those grip strips. As you can see, even though it's only water, that this is the Mr. Hobby 218 aluminium. It's actually called aluminium. So there we go. So now you can see we've just got it on the steps. I'm not sure you can see the sheen that the camera's picking up is making it look a lot more pronounced than it actually is. spread that out a bit, and we can actually, if you want to, come in and remove some. Just wipe a little bit off. That looks better actually. If you put it on and then rub it off, it looks better for some reason. Yeah, that looks great. It looks much better. So happy with that. So that's that bit of weathering done, and I think basically that is all the weather I'm going to do really, because I'm frightened I'm going to ruin it. I don't want to, you know, I could go oil and put an oil streaks on it and stuff. You've seen me do that before. If you go back and look at the Vulcan, I did that with streaks and God knows what. It's a right mess. But this one I want to just keep it like this. I think I'm happy with how this looks. Right, so what we're going to do, I'm not going to take any masking off yet because I'm going to be going around with flats where we're going to put the antenna in and all that. So I think what I'll do is fit the antenna first and then flat coat it, and then it will blend in around the bottom and everything. So let's get this. Now we need to be really careful how we do this, because if we put the antenna in now, we won't be able to sit her over on her side to put the guns on and stuff. So I think what we'll do is put these little dooblies in, which is going to be a nightmare. So I've got 2 yellow ones, blue tack up there, and I've got 2 blue ones. They've been painted in 2 stages. Obviously shove them in blue tack, painted one end, let it dry, turn it over, shove the painted end in, and then paint the other end. This one here, we'll do a bit of dry brushing and just have a bit of shininess on there. This is going to need a touch up with a paintbrush. And this is actually the step that they step on to get into the cockpit. I get a 400 stick, I think, nice fine stick. The beauty of these Infinity sticks is the fact that they don't catch on anything. There's no rough edges to them or anything that's going to catch. In fact, I think I'll get away without touching that up because the plastic underneath is like that blue-grey colour, so maybe we'll get away with that, we'll see. I'm going to put a bit of a wash on them anyway just to tone them down, because as you can see, if I put that there against that yellow, you can see it sort of, you can't see, but it sticks out like a sore thumb. It's quite bright. So I'm just going to remove some paint from the bottom of there. And what I'm tempted to do is actually use extra thin to put these in rather than polyurethane, because I just think it'll do a nicer job, and if it messes up the paint, I can easily go in and touch it after. I'm tempted. I think I'm going to use the quick setting. We'll just put the drop in there. It's quite a nice recess for it to go in, and then just drop that in there like so, and then do the same on this one. Drop in there, and then hopefully what will happen is the paint will be melted by the glue. It'll all sort of go all gungy together and then dry as a paint coloured mess that won't look too bad. So there we go. Then we'll do the same on this side. I'll do this one first, put a drop of glue in there without touching the surrounding area. Oh no, that fell over. Urgh. Get off, bloody masking tape. I hate masking tape. It gets everywhere, doesn't it? Get that stand in there now. Just looking at the angle, I think they just sort of face forward, don't they? So how many times are these going to get broken off, do you reckon, before the end of this video? I'm not sure there's any glue in there. There we go, looking at end on, just get them all squared up. 90 degree to the wing rather than 90 degree to the ground. So they're on. How many times are they going to get broken off, do you reckon? A million? It's nice they put them there, isn't it? We've got them to look at. So, how the hell am I going to pick this up? Right, so the cannons. We can put the cannons in. I think I will use white glue or maybe even super glue for these. In fact, we've got to put that step in, haven't we? So I'm going to turn this over, turn this around, should I say. And then we'll get some extra thin quick setting in there, in that hole. And then we'll get this and we will put it in. I can't remember which way it goes. Does it face forward or face back? Faces forward. There we go, that's gone in there. Just check that is, yeah, that is glued. And there we go. And if I want to make sure, what I can do is just come along with a tiny drop of this and just on the inside, just touch it and don't stay around, just literally just touch it. I can do the same on the wing here, and this is just to ensure these are actually welded in place. Literally just touch and get out. Touch and get out. Need some more glue on the brush. Just touch it, don't hang around because you'll damage the paint and it will look awful. So come in here, touch it, touch it, there we go. So just check the alignment of them. I'm guessing they would have got knocked about and bent anyway in reality. But if we're depicting a plane that's nearly fresh out the factory, then we don't want to be messing around with that, do we? I want to glue that wheel as well because we've got a flat spot on it. Okay, so that's sat on the flat spot there. So I'm just going to put a drop of cement in there. And I managed to turn the wheel while I was doing it, so there we go. So that is now sat on its flat spot. Then we've got, oh, I've just knocked it off its bloody flat spot again. Nothing looks worse than a flat spotted tyre that's not sat on the flat spot. You're better off not having flat spots at all. In fact, I'm not sure these tyres would have been flat spotted in reality. Right, so that's that done. This little tail light here can go in this little marker light. It's absolutely tiny. So I'm going to cut it off the sprue and try and get it off without having to do any trimming, because I don't know how I'm going to hold it to trim it. It's going to be a joke. I think what I'll do is grab a bit of blue tack and hold it in there. I can't even see the bloody thing. It is absolutely tiny. Okay, so I've got it in the blue tack the right way round. So I'm going to chuck that sprue in the bin. In the bin! Yeah, Mighty Car Mods, that is. And then I'm going to use some crystal clear. Shake. Some crystal clear on a cocktail stick. If I can find one, here we go. We've got a cocktail stick here. And we will just put a dab. See, I'm already picking up and knocking into things. But just put a tiny dab of glue in there. In fact, it's almost, I may as well just leave the crystal clear there and not put the clear part in because it's so tiny. And then got my bloody throat, it's doing my head in. And then we're going to drop that into there, and obviously the blue tack's holding the part. If I wanted it to hold the part for spraying, it wouldn't do it, but because I want it to come away, it won't. Thanks, blue tack. There we go, it's left it on there this time. So I guess get a cotton bud. Quickly just run over that and remove any excess glue. So now we've got our tiny little light in the back there, as you can see. That is absolutely tiny. Right, so that's that. Change of heart, I'm going to use super glue on these. So basically, if you remember, I always say the same. Go in, put the super glue in the hole, not on the peg, because that way, or any glue you're using, if you put the glue on the peg, as you push the part in, just removing some of this excess, the glue will be pushed up the pin and slide and roll off onto your model, whereas if you put it in the hole, the glue will be pushed into the hole. So we've got those 4 connection pins there, and then we've also got this pipe which has to go into that hole like so. There we go, and then it will go in. So there are just 4 tiny dabs of super glue holding them in, and that should be ample to keep them in place. So do the same on the other side. Get our cannon over here ready. And as you can see, we've got the 4 pins that actually mount the gun itself, the cannon, and then we've got this pipe that's loose. So that has to be slid in separately. So I'm just going to get some super glue into the holes, just like so. Put some into that pipe. And then grab my cotton bud and just get rid of the excess on the surface so it doesn't ooze out. And then we can grab our model, put the gun in, slide it underneath the undercarriage, get the pins to go in. It's gone straight in, perfect fit. And then we just need to make that pipe. Just need to make that pipe pop in. Just get in there with a pair of tweezers, nudge it over. Push it into its hole. There we are, it's gone in. Just like that. Or has it gone in? There we go, it's gone in now. There we are. So that's our cannons in place. Finally, that's the one you've been waiting for, I expect, isn't it? So we've got the actual cannon barrels here. Now I've sprayed most of them. Oh, come on, bag open. I sprayed most of them. I haven't sprayed the front end. We have to get some soot and stuff on them, but they actually fit in there lovely. What am I doing, putting them in there? Duh. They fit in here lovely, and they don't need to be glued. And I'm not going to glue them at the moment because I may get some master barrels for it because it's going to look so much better. So that one's a bit sloppy in there. That one's nice and tight. That's better. That's better. Right, so we've got them now. They're nice and solid. And I'm not going to glue them in. I'm just going to leave them like that. Because, as I say, if some master barrels come along, I want to fit them. But I am going to paint the ends and get some black in them and soot them up and stuff. So there we go. They also need a flat coat, I think, because they look a bit shiny. Not so keen on the shininess of them. So that's that. We've also got the machine gun to go in, so we can get that done. Now I might do this off the camera because I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work. Have a think about this. Okay, so thinking about things now, I think the next thing to do now is get this spinner painted, because that's going to need to be flat coated to level it out and everything afterwards. So there's no point in going on and flat coating stuff like the gun barrels and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is get this spinner painted first. Now, I've had another look at the references, and although some of them seem to say that this is actually the lighter colour green, I am very, very tempted to do it the darker green, because if you notice on the nose, the camouflage comes around, and I've also noticed that on the Hendon Museum aircraft, it doesn't have the spiral pattern, but the nose cone is actually black green. So I'm going to do it in black green. I'm going to use the Tamiya one again to give it a slight difference. You can see there is a slight difference in colour and texture. So I'll use the Tamiya one again, and then we'll see how it looks when I unmask it. I won't do it on camera, I'll spray it in the booth. Okay, so those cannons are done now, and they're done in LP54 dark iron, which is giving them a bit of a duller look rather than that shiny look. We will get some soot on the end of those. So here's the spinner. Everybody loves an unmasking. So let's just see how this is going to look. Get my lighting improved. Here we go. So let's see how this is going to be a disaster or what. And remember guys, you asked for this, so if it's wrong, it's your fault. So we just peel this masking tape away. Then we'll grab this other bit here. Put that way. Looking good so far. Bit of masking fluid left there, so we get rid of that. Then we're going to pick up. Where are we going here? We've got some masking fluid there. Be careful not to scratch anything, because this, although it's clear coated, it's not very thick. So I go in with a knife and just pick up the edge of that masking tape if I can. Go. Doesn't want to play ball. Let's get my better tweezers. These are the Dave Coley Emporium ones, which are much better than those cheap things. Okay, that's that one. Looking good so far. Can I get under here and get that tape? Nope. If you can't get under it, don't keep trying, guys. All you do is scratch. So you want to be careful not to scratch anything. Oh, look at this. It's pulling the decal off. Oh, no. That means I've got to remask it and paint the white. Hey-ho. So yeah, the masking film is pulling the clear coat off with the decal. So, but you know, it's in a way it's good that it's happened, because it shows you guys that when things like this happen, it's not necessarily a disaster. It's just a case of, you know, shit happens. And hopefully it's going to be alright on the nose. I don't want to have to repaint the nose area. The front, you know, the front area up here. I don't want to have to do that. Just get under the tape with my knife and peel away. So it's just that area. If you remember there, I spent a lot of time playing with this decal to get it on. So when you, I find in my experience, when you play with decals a lot to get them on, they tend to lose their adhesion. I've also found if you leave them in the water too long, they do the same. But what I want to establish here is this nose going to be okay? Come on, come on, come on. As you can imagine, trying to mask that, to paint that white, would be a complete and utter nightmare. Bloody Chinese, I shouldn't say that, bloody cheap tweezers. Yay, we're good. Oh, he said spoke too soon. I've still got some masking tape to come off of there. There we are. And there's still some there as well. So there we are. So we've got that bit there. That's a shame, isn't it? If I hadn't ripped that off, we'd be good to go. So we just have to mask that off and paint that white. But I'm going to have to do that. I may even clear coat it first. But yeah, if you look at it from that side, it looks bloody great. And then you go around there, ugh, what's it going to look like when it's on the model? That looks better, doesn't it? I suppose that does look better than the black. There we go. I suppose it does look better than the black. So anyway. Right, so I'll just put that to one side for now. And that can be done at any time because it can just come on and off the model. So get rid of all this masking tape. And we'll look at getting some soot in these cannons, I think. Right, so soot in the cannons. I'm going to use my Modeller's World Pigment Soot Black. I also discovered I had this, which I'd forgotten I had. And this is basically an acrylic binder. And you can use this to paint onto the model to put the pigments in, and then they'll just dry and they'll stay there. If you remember when I did the soot on the side of here, for that very subtle look, which we've got there, that really subtle black staining, it wasn't. I did a little test with this, and it is very, very sort of on and off. It's either there's nothing there or it's all stuck to it. So so basically, this is just like I think it's just like a thinned white glue, but it does have a very strange smell to it. All of the Modeller's World products have a very strange smell, and they all smell rather nice. So what I'm going to do is open up the pigment here. I'm going to get the model out of the way because I do not want to get any soot on that. And then I'm just going to get my brush and put some of this into the end of the cannon here, and a little bit around the outside, and then do the same on this one. Too much, Nige, too much. And a little bit around the outside, and I'm going to see if we can play with it. So I'll get some soot on here, put that in the cannon, and that is obviously sticking in there like shit to a blanket. And then we should be able to just put some soot on the outside and play with it. And it certainly does seem to bind it in place. But the trouble is, you see, with doing this, rather than using thinners, if you do it this way, it's sort of on there, it's stuck in place, and there's not a lot you can do afterwards other than just sand it off and repaint it if it's really glued on there. So I'm just going to play with that and make the end. What I'm really after is this proper black sooty look, which you know, it's very difficult to depict with matte black paint because it just sometimes isn't matte enough. As you can see on there, you can see I've got a hard edge. There's a hard edge there between the black and the grey. It's because of that glue that's actually holding it in place. It's really, really bonding it. So I'd rather use the thinners method, I think. And then, so what I'm going to do is get some odorless thinners. In fact, I'll use the Modeller's World thinners. Just put a drop of that in there. And then I could put some on here. And then get the soot and just allow the soot to build up onto the thinners. Here we go, and just leave that to dry, and then we should be able to, like I did on the aircraft, I'll be able to rub it back to get the effect I want. You can see because I've got it wet, and now that pigment is turned into like a black paint almost, and that's what you want to try and avoid, because then you lose your effects of having a pigment and it just becomes a black paint. So there we go. I could probably grab a crappy cotton bud and just roll some of that off. Be careful not to snap it. But as I say, I'm probably going to replace these anyway down the line, because this is, I mean, it's such a beautiful model. It's going to be getting HGW seat belts. So if Master come out with some barrels for it, which they no doubt will. There we go. You can see we've got that effect now of the soot in the end of the barrel. It's very difficult to see, I know. But see, masking tape stuck to my finger. It gets everywhere. There we go. So happy with how that's come out. Get the top back on here as quick as you can. Do not sneeze. And there we are. And I think while we're at it, I might just do some of this on the end of the machine gun, just because I can. So then what I'll do is put some of the thinners on the end of the machine gun, then just work away with this. Just pick up some bits of pigment that are lead here. I'm not sure if it's accurate, but it's just a bit of artistic license. In fact, this has now become, I can show you something here, this has become like a black wash. I can put that on there, brush that in, and then just lightly wipe off, and it will stay in the holes in the cooling jacket. And I doubt if you can see that for 1 minute, but no, you're not going to see that at all. Get the light a bit better on you. It's I can see it under the light, you can't. So it looks very, very nice. And there's the Canon with some better light on it. So there we go. So that's that for now. I think we'll call it a day there, and then I'll get that white masked up and painted, and then we can get everything flat coated. Right, so we're all done. So we've got the prop done, and I must be honest, that was a lot of work for pretty much nothing, because if you ask me, that still looks pretty black to me. But it's funny, when you take it off, it looks kind of dark green, and we've got the prop blades done as well, as instructed. As advised, thank you. And but you can see now on the nose, that's all nicely done. We've got all the white paint all sorted, and then I've given it a wash, a matte coat, and then I've given it a wash just to stain it all down a bit, get it all looking a bit sort of tarnished rather than brilliant white. So that's that. So that's the prop done. The barrels, as you saw me do, I just put the soot in the end of them. They're just literally pushed in. They're not glued in at all. And that's that. All the glazing keeps falling off, which is a complete pain in the ass. That's my fault, because I don't want to glue it down, because I want it removable so I can get the seat belts in. So now I want to look at putting this gun in, the machine gun in the back, because basically now when we look in our box, we have the bomb, which we're not going to use. We have some spare decals, and we have the machine gun and the pitot tube and the antenna. So we're going to fit the antenna on and put the actual antenna cable in last. But what I need to do now is get this masking off of here. Be so careful handling this model, because it is covered in little sticky out bits and pieces. Jess, leave that. Jess is trying to go through the bin. So we'll get rid of this here. Be careful not to damage anything. And you know, once you start taking your masking off, then you know you're there. Which is something you don't see a lot of on this channel, isn't it? Okay, so, right, it's just sorted out. I just want to get the gun. So if you remember, I said to you, you can't fit it as they say in the instructions. You have to do it like this. So basically I've just got the gun placed on there. It's kind of sat on the tab. So we can basically pull the glazing back over the gun and that'll sit there like that. So what we need to do is glue the gun in that position. Now it's not a good enough fit for it to, maybe it is actually. I'm going to leave it loose actually, because it is a very, very good fit. What I'm going to do is put a tiny drop of white glue in there, just so it doesn't just fall off under its own weight going forward. But I do want to have it perhaps removable, because as I say, as soon as those HGW seat belts appear or come out, I haven't got any on the way. I haven't asked HGW to send me any freebies, but I have asked them to let me know when they're available, because this model deserves them. So just going to put that gun in there on that drop of white glue, and then I will be able to, let's get this canopy unmasked, which I know you want to see on camera because you love to see unmasking, don't you? Everybody does. Let's grab my Dave Coley tweezers instead of those crap things. I need to get myself some nice tweezers actually. I'll have to have a look and see if Premium Hobbies do a nice set of tweezers. So get that tape off of there. And pick up this corner here. Get that tape off of there, come on. Okay, so that's that corner done, and then we have, right, so she's all unmasked now except for this canopy here, and as you can see, all looking lovely in there, all nice and clear. A little bit of dust inside there which I've gone around with a cotton bud, a couple of areas I can't get to, but we're not going to worry about that. And the save with that armour plating on the front is nothing short remarkable. I'm so lucky. I can assure you that was not skill, that was luck. So there we go. So we're going to slide that canopy over there. Okay, like that. Now I'm tempted to put some double-sided tape or something in there just to hold it in. It kind of sits down. I don't know, I want to hold it in, because otherwise every time you pick the thing up it just keeps wanting to fall off. I'm wondering if I can get a little piece of blue tack. Right, I've got a fresh bit of white tack. What I've done is, rather than just sit it on top of that bulkhead, I've kind of, you can see the bulkhead moves forward. If I get behind it, you can see it just moves forward like so. So I just got it sort of sat astride it, and then I should be able to slide that on and press it down, and it's just enough, it's just so you can turn it over that it's falling off. See, it does, it still wants to fall off, but just maybe push that gun down a bit harder, may just be enough just to stop it falling off. My worry is it'll fall off and you stand on it, that's the trouble. There we go, this is going to have to do. And then these gun sights are going to slot over the barrels. Be careful not to damage them. They're going to slide over those gun barrels. I think we need to use some tweezers here. Oh my god, this is a nightmare. If I had this gun in my hand, there we go, they would slide over there as easy as anything. There we are. So they're just going to slide over like that. Now obviously again, I don't want to glue anything in place because I want to be able to move the glazing. There we go, so that's there like that. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that like that. You can see that sat there in its sort of parked position. That's going to be good enough, and that glue on the white glue on the gun will dry, and hopefully that will be enough. I can turn it over without it falling off all the time. Right, so now we've got to look at, we'll leave that for a minute, get this antenna on. So I'm just going to literally clip this off. We've had it's been painted obviously, it's got the decals on it, Ursprung durch Technik, and it's also got the flat coat on it. So it fits in there beautifully. Now some may think, you know, put a double super glue on there. Be very, very careful with super glue, because you've all heard that super glue fogs canopies. You can get non-fogging types. The trouble is, if it's going to fog, the one time it will fog is in an enclosed environment, sort of fog that on the inside. And once it's fogged on the inside, you are pretty much buggered. So be very careful. So I'm just going to put some extra thin in that hole. And then push this down in. Oh, come on, go in the hole. There we go. And then let that cure. Just put a drop of, just a little drop around it, just like that, just to help it weld in. We need to make sure that it's correctly vertical. That's how it's supposed to be. Just make sure it's right that way, and then leave that to dry. And all I will do then, I have drilled a 0.3 hole in the tail, and then once that's dry I can put a antenna line in there. So let's get this canopy unmasked. So how are we all doing today? I hope you're enjoying this, enjoying seeing me actually finish something. I mean, a lot of people have a go at me for not finishing anything, but I do actually finish more than people give me credit for, to be honest. There are quite a few finished builds on the channel if you look. And I do get a lot of very polite requests to pick things up. Again, especially the Titanic and the Bronco. That's the one that people really want to see, is the Bronco, I think. The trouble is the Titanic, it's such a huge, expensive project that you kind of, you know, you really need to be in the mood to do it. And at the moment, I'm not in the mood for floaty things. So that can go on there. And as we can see now, it's starting to look properly. Let's give you a better view of it without my great big hands in the way. It's starting to look proper Stuka like now. You can see all the cockpit in there. That lovely glazing, all crystal clear, no distortion whatsoever. God, this kit is just gorgeous. It is such a gorgeous kit. It is just amazing. And then finally, as the last part, watch this guys, this is the last part being cut off the sprue. There we go. That is the completion of the border models 1/35th scale Junker 87 G1 or G2. This one is Stuka. I actually read last night that it was more common for the G1s to have those dive brake brackets in place than the G2s. So if you're building one of these as a G2, fill the holes. I'm not going to bother now, it's too late. Just going to fit that in there, just like so, and then go around with a cotton bud. Just remove the excess from in there. Just squeeze the end of the cotton bud out so it becomes more pointed, and then you can get in. There we go. So that is the pitot tubing, and that is that. Other than the antenna, this model is complete. And there we go. So we'll stick the prop on. Oops. And that, my friends, is that. It looks like the antenna's getting there. So we'll let that antenna dry off, and then we'll fit the actual antenna itself. And then that's it. Right, so for the antenna, I'm using this stuff called Easy Line. And this is the fine version. There's basically a fine and a coarse. It's not the cheapest stuff in the world. As you can see, this is years old now. This was £10, but it's absolutely amazing stuff in that it's stretched. It's about, I think, 6 or 7 times its length. You can see here I've got this super glued into this tail. So if I hold this here where the antenna is, so it's basically just taut enough to keep it straight. You can see that I can pretty much go off camera without breaking it. Now the trouble is it's like a flat section rather than round, so it's not actually strictly true. So what you do is you stretch it to make it look nice and round, but the trouble is then you've got this constant tension on the top of the antenna and it will break off. I've got a 109 in a cabinet and it's actually broken the antenna off where I've got it too tight. So what I'm going to do here is pull it so that it's just tight enough, and then I'm going to place it down on top of the antenna. Now unfortunately what I'll do is put a drop of super glue on top of the antenna and then just place it down. Now I've checked my references. Always worth checking your references, because sometimes these might come off, you know, a few millimeters down the antenna rather than on the top. This one, it's actually got a loop and a cable that comes off the top of the antenna. We also have some of those thingamajigs, I can't remember what you call them. I'm going to put a couple of blobs of white glue on the back here just to imitate them. So what we can do is twist it and make sure that we don't get, I can show you close up in the camera, I think. If I twist this, you end up with this kind of, you can see it's got this kind of woven effect on it, which I don't like. So you have to untwist it, make sure it's nice and straight, and then just with the tension just enough to keep it straight, just drop it down on there. You don't want to be pulling it and putting it down because it's too much tension for that antenna to be constantly under. So, and also then the other beauty of this stuff, of course, if you can imagine, if my hand's there and this is fixed in place, it's very difficult. You can still break it, but it's very difficult to break because it's not like sprue. If you stretch sprue or wire or anything, as soon as you touch it, it'll break. So there we go. That's the beauty of this stuff for your antenna. So I'm going to get this done. Obviously, as I say, I'm going to have to do it off camera because I can't see, because I'm old and blind and stupid. There we go. There's the antenna on, all looking dandy. See it there. This stuff is amazing, as I can show. This is the offcut. If you can imagine that I've got my fingers about an inch apart. I can pull it. You can pull it about 6 times its length. As I say, the trouble is when you do that, it's putting a lot of stress. So if you've got it mounted between 2 buildings in a diorama or something, then you can stretch it. It's going to be fine, and then put your posts in between. But if you've got it between like 2 lampposts on a model railway, it's just going to bend them in. So that's fitted nice and loosely. You can see it on there, fitted in place, just like so. So that, oh, for God's sake, I've glued it on and it still falls off. Ugh, it wouldn't be a problem, it's just that I want it to be removable. So I'm just going to remove my dusty finger marks from the side of there. And we are done. So I think it's time to get to the I was going to say the photo booth. I haven't got a photo booth. Oh, I haven't done those. Just show you how I do this. So it's getting more and more dodgy now. I think it needs to be picked up by its wingtips. Just get some white glue on a cocktail stick. And I'm just going to get a drop of glue on here. I'm just going to go one there. What you want is just a drop of white glue. Make sure it sort of beads up so it forms like a ball. The same you do with the throttle lever. And then another one next to it there. This is what I've seen in my, I think it's like a tourniquet or something. And that'll settle itself down and dry, and then you can just put a drop of black paint on there. And it's just to really depict the lump that's there. See, a lot of World War I modelers do this. They'll put like a length on there, you know, sort of 10mm long, and then drop a black paint. It's just to depict a tourniquet. Of course, you can buy the gas patch tourniquets, of which I've got some, but my God, you need to have some. I used to use them. Right, so you can see on there we've got that in just those two lumps on there. I get when that they'll shrink back a bit when they dry, and then just put a drop of black paint on them, and that will be it. And we are ready for photos. I've also noticed I've got a little touch up I need to do there with some green paint and just where that antenna goes in. So I'm going to get that done now. At last, we're done. So as you can see, I've touched in that bit of green bit on the tail there, and you can also see that those little, whatever they're called, those little lumps on the antenna at the back there, just in front of the fin, they've had a little touch of black paint. So that is it. I've also put some black green paint on the top of the antenna where the actual antenna itself is glued on. So there we go. So she's done. You can see underneath, she's all looking lovely. All that pre-shading and everything working, all that repair work I did on the end. And then, yeah, what a beautiful model. So, as a final, this Kuba wagon, this thing sits on the side over there and gets absolutely covered in dust. It's been sat up there for about 2 years. And now and again gets a brush off. I just go over it with I've got a big brush here that I go over and just dust it off. And I just thought, well, maybe it needs, I want to put it in a photograph with this. I thought I'll give it a bit of invigoration. So, you know, I use these Modeller's oils wash all the time. I didn't realise I had this one. This is dark for Panzer Grey. So I just went over the whole thing, other than the seats, with this dark for Panzer Grey. I used it with a filter, really, rather than a wash. And you can see it's kind of reinvigorated it, and it's got this kind of bit of a weathered look to it. It's not quite dry yet, so it's still a bit of a sheen on it. But and then I thought I'll go over the tyres. So that's the black, that's black brown. I went over the tyres with some deep black, so they look a bit better. So, you know, sort of just make them so it's not all grey. And they sort of got rid of all the dust on them. And then I went around the door shuts and everything and make it look a bit greasy, because that's how these things get with their matte grey paint. They get hand marks and stuff, and they're going to look a bit awful. So just wanted to make it all look a bit blotchy, so I've done that. And then the seats, I've got one here which is black brown. Just went over that and the cover on the back. So what you can see on the seat there, it's still wet then in the root of the driver's seat. So yeah, 3 bottles of Modeller's World washes and a couple of brushfuls, and that's it. It's reinvigorated, so ready for a photo session. And I just, you know, like I say to you, when I did this review of the tall boy on the tractor and everything, having a vehicle, you can see there's your aircraft there. You know, I can put my hand there and you can see that it's a nice size. But when you put a 35th scale model with it, all of a sudden, you know the size of a Kuba wagon. It's about the same size as a Beetle. So you suddenly realise, Christ, you know, that Stuka was quite a big old beast, wasn't it? And then, you know, when you park it in front of it here or whatever, you know, you can just get an idea of its size. So there we are. So I'm over the moon, absolutely stunned with this model, absolutely stunned. So I'm going to go on Facecam, give my review of the kit now that I've built it, and then I'm going to take it to one side and do some photos, and then we'll finish up the video with some photos. So what do I think of this model? I think we all know that. I would say it is, I won't say by far because that's probably stretching it a bit, it's the best model I've ever built. When you bear in mind this is out of the box, there are no aftermarket seat belts, there's no aftermarket resin, there's no aftermarket PE. I can't even remember now if I've actually added anything from a spares box. I don't think I have I? There's no plastic card. No, there's nothing. I've added nothing to it. This is out of the box. All I've done is replace some of the decals with paint, you know, the yellow stripes and everything, and we had some fun there, didn't we? It's painted with Mr. Hobby Paints, RLM 7071 and 65 is on the bottom. The detail painting's been done with Vallejo and LP colours. The spinner is MRP white now. It was a decal, but it's MRP white now. And Tamiya XF27, the black green, as are the prop blades. The gun barrels are LP54, is it? I think gunmetal, or dark iron. Tyres are LP, well, whichever one it is, rubber black. The silver work, the wheels and everything, that's LP70. The LP colours, I love them, they're absolutely wonderful. The yellow is the Mr. Hobby 313, is it? RLM04 yellow. And that's basically that. Bit of easy line for the antenna, as you've just seen. And that's that. And general masking tape and stuff. And a few magnets in the... Oh, that's what I've added, magnets. I knew I'd added something. I added some magnets to the exhaust, as you know, to get them on and off. Oh, and there's some pigments on there as well. But basically, other than the magnets in the engine cover, or in the exhaust, this kit is out of the box, and it doesn't have a spot of filler in it anywhere. It's got a few drops of Mr. Surfacer, and when I say a few drops, I mean a few drops. If you go back, look at the build, if you can stay awake, it's absolutely incredible. The surface detail is incredible. The fit is, I think it's probably the best fitting kit I've ever had. It's up there with Tamiya. You know, I haven't built them, but they say, I mean, I've got a couple of them, but the 148 P38, apparently that thing just goes together like an absolute dream. And this is the same. I would say the advantage with this over Tamiya, and don't get me wrong guys when I say this, I sometimes find Tamiya a little boring, because they are perfectly engineered, perfectly designed, and perfect. The instructions are perfect, and everything is just perfect. And you could basically cut the parts off the sprue and just follow the instructions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All the colours are there. Everything. You know, if you need a jig, they give you a jig. If it needs a rubber plug, they give you a rubber plug. If it needs a poly cap, I mean, you know, the paint instructions are there. If it needs a bit of PE, they give. They're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. But I find them a little bit boring, because all you're doing is basically, it's like building a kit car from scratch, or building a kit car from a kit of parts, or building a kit car from a kit of parts. So you can imagine if they delivered you a painted chassis, a painted body, a fully running engine, gearbox, wiring loom, you just bolt it all together. Yeah, that would be great, but it's not, for me, it's not as fun as engineering it from a stack of tubes, a scrap old engine that needs to be restored, and a gearbox which doesn't even work. So that's the difference. And this isn't as bad as the gearbox that doesn't even work, but you need to think about what you're doing and change the build sequence around a little bit, as I've done. But no, it is without doubt the best fitting kit I've ever built. It's the best kit I've ever built. I've enjoyed it 100%. I know people say it's a little pricey in the UK, £75 I think retail. You'll find it for 50 odd within, you know, soon enough. And I think it's worth every penny. If a Tamiya 1/32 scale Spitfire, Corsair, whatever is over the £100 now, this is worth 75, no problem. And it can be got for less elsewhere, as you know. As far as accuracy goes, I don't know. All I do know is somebody kindly sent me a book, a Japanese publication on the Stuka, and it's full of drawings, it's full of actual photographs, which I like. I don't trust drawings, as you know, and it just seems to be right. It's just, everything seems to be right. So the only bit I would say that is actually wrong with the model is, I think the kit has been designed as a dive bomber, as a D, because you get the bomb in the kit. And so obviously you've got the clear vision going down through, so the pilot can see what he's actually bombing, or to see that the bomb's actually gone or whatever. I don't know, but this one had a plate over it because he didn't actually need to see that. So I think there was a plate bolted or riveted over that hole. But even on the original dive bombers, in this model it's depicted as a clear piece. But if you look at the Hendon version, there is actually a door that actually folds up inside with a cable or whatever, or a lever, a rod, or whatever, I don't know. But that's the only thing I think on here that's inaccurate. They give you that as a clear part, and it could be that on certain variations of the D, then maybe it does have the clear part, I don't know. But no, it's stunning. Marks out of 10. Engineering, it isn't foolproof, They haven't done like with Tamiya will do it. Sometimes you'll see Takom do it. Sometimes you'll see Trumpeter do it. But you could actually fit the parts wrong way round. So they haven't got like, you know, on the left part the pins are 10mm apart, and on the right part the pins are 8mm apart, so that you can't physically fit them wrong way round. They haven't done that. You could actually put the guns on the wrong way round, for example. So engineering, but the fit and everything, and the actual design of the kit, the way it goes together, the way they've got the wings done and everything, I'll give it a 9 out of 10 for engineering. I can't give it a 10 out of 10 because it's not foolproof. But to an experienced modeler, it's absolutely fine. An experienced modeler is going to give it a 10 out of 10 for engineering because they're going to be taking their time and care. For design, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. Without doubt, the way it goes together is just absolutely stunning. The instructions I'll give an 8.5 out of 10 because they are nicely laid out and they do give you all the different options, but they don't actually tell you what the options are for. So, and this is where you get the Tamiya thing coming again. You know, they will say for the G1 version fit this wingtip, for the G2 version fit this wingtip. This just has 2 options. You've got option 1, option 2. It doesn't even tell you which one is G1 and which is G2. And then you've got the actual gun covers that go on the wings. I think they've got those mixed up as well in the instructions. But I've covered all that in the instructions. I've done separate videos all about it, so you can go back and look at them. And there's a couple of little errors, dafty errors in the instructions, which, you know, some people said to me when I brought it out, you know, oh my God, that's disgusting, they make mistakes. Of course they make mistakes. You've got hundreds of parts going together. You know, they're keen to get the model out. Everybody's nagging them, get the model out. When are we going to see it launched? You know, wait till the Lancasters comes out. There's going to be mistakes in those instructions. Dragon make mistakes now. Apparently that SR71 has got part numbering mistakes in the instructions. So, you know, you've got people like Revell who've been in the game for hundreds of years, it seems. They make mistakes. So I'm not going to worry about that. The Decals are superb. I give them a 10 out of 10. They, as you know, I had a problem on the right hand side, on the starboard side, with that big V on the back, and it sort of turned in on itself. But it was almost like it was made of leather. I could just pull it around and pull it and pull it and pull it, even though it already had microcell on it, and it just conformed and went down. And you know how they've gone down everywhere else with the rivets and stuff. Absolutely wonderful, really, really nice. Clear parts, they're as good as the best I've seen. I can't say they're the best I've seen because I've seen as good, but they're absolutely, completely distortion free. They're thin. You don't have the option of having the canopy sliding back, which I think is something Tamiya would have done. They would have, as they did with the Corsair, they would have given you a different sort of intermediate part so you could have the canopy slid back over it. But on here they've just given you it size for size, so you can only really build it with the canopy closed. You can't have it open because it's size for size, and obviously scale thickness, it's the actual canopy is too thick to slide over the rear canopy. So there we go. But other than that, you know, it's amazing. As I say, best kit I've ever built. And now I cannot wait for the Lancaster. The border model of obviously, other than their instructions, which they openly admit they have mistakes, because, you know, I speak to them via email. I have offered them to proofread their instructions for the Lancaster. They haven't replied, so, you know, they probably don't want people sticking their nose in, to be honest. But no, other than that, absolutely amazed. Can't wait to see the border models Lancaster. Can't wait to build it. It's going to be gorgeous. They are perfectionists. They're going to get it right. So I'm going to finish this video now and say thank you very much to everyone who's watched. It's been 15 parts. I know it's been painful. It's been boring at times. But I get people that say I waffle too much or talk too much and I should speed things up. I get people that say the way I show everything and the way all the detail comes out is absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to stick to doing that, because the people that want to not hear me waffle and just rush through, they've got fast forward. The people that want to see everything, you know, if I don't show them everything, they don't have a choice. So I'm just going to carry on going the way I am. As I say, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for sticking with me. I would suggest, if you're into German aircraft, go and get this kit. It is amazing. You can see here, if I put my Kuba wagon with it, you can see it looks bloody great. You know, it's It's wonderful. It's a magic model. It's brilliant. Really, really pleased with it. Did I mention I like this? I'm not sure if I did. I do actually like this kit quite a lot. Anyway, thanks guys. Enjoy the music, enjoy the photographs, and I'll see you all soon for the next build. Bye for now.